Okay, welcome everybody to the Smart Money live chat with the Warren Buffett, the Richard Branson of Canada, Mr. Sean Black, coming to us live from what was it? You're in
Mississauga.
Where?
Toronto.
Mississauga. Okay, Mississauga. Okay. Fantastic. All right, so I can see there's a little bit of greenery now. You got everybody.
Yep.
Sean, I think the problem with the market has been the last few months that now that they let everybody out of their house, there's been a slowdown in micro caps. Everybody's outside, they're at the lake, whatever. But the big opportunity right now is everything is really starting to take off. The summer rally has started. This is the thing we've been talking about for months now, but now it's started. This is it.
I agree, Jack. And it took a few years of doing this, even for myself to learn the cycles in Canada. How some of these micros trade. And finally it clicked in. This is the first summer, I'll be honest, where I was able to really take advantage of, the sleepy season and, not only do some homework on some of these, enjoy I just got back from a cottage myself, but to be piling into some of these names that were way oversold, just ignored, and several of them that are about to hit their inflection point. So the buying opportunity it created was incredible. There's someone out there that I listened to it for a few years, him say it, Jason Spatafora, call him the Wolf of, I think it's Wolf of Wheat Street or something is his ticker, or is his handle. The guy's been right every friggin' year. He says, go away in May. I didn't listen to him the first couple of years. I'm like, oh, he's just saying that. He just made it up. And he was right. And every time.
Not last year. Last year, because of the COVID thing, threw things
off. A little different, but years in a row though, like the certain tickers, whether it was the cannabis space or certain small stuff, it just didn't have the same, buyer's attention. And this year was the best example of it. So thankfully, I was sitting with a significant amount of dry powder on the sidelines for this event, and there's been several names that you have. An affiliation with that I've participated in a material amount this summer. In the last 2, 3, 4 weeks.
Yeah, this is really there's been it's interesting, as you know, the way you make money. It's basically the price you get in at. That's really what makes the profit. And last year, the biggest winners that we launched all started this last weeks of the summer, July, August, early September. PKK, fans. I mean, I can go through the whole list. CloudMD, Logic before the $14 run up, and right now it's the same. It's like what's that, Groundhog Day or something? We're starting to see this, and I think so. I want to focus on our favorite stock, which I want you to kind of give you the in plain English explanation of TBP, which again. The reason I have you on here is because I think TBP has the potential to be our first 100x. We've had a bunch of 10xers, 10 baggers, 20 baggers, 50 bagger. I haven't had a 100 bagger yet. I'd like to have a 100 bagger.
Yes, I think so would everyone in your audience. Absolutely.
And I think it only needs to go. I think we introduced it at 17. So if it goes to $17, that'll be 100 bagger. And the crazy thing is this. I know people say, "Oh, it's hype, it's all this." No, listen. This is we've already had 8 of these 10 bagger plus in the last 18 months. So all these winners, they all have one thing in common. They have several things in common. And TBP, and I want you to explain in your own words because I think you're really able to articulate this much better than me, and I would say much better than anybody. The investment concept, the thesis of TBP. What is the path for this to be potentially 100 bagger? And not everybody wants to hang on for 100x because look, let's be honest, it might take a year and a half to get to $18, but it could be a $2, $3 stock in 6 months. Some people want to get out of 10x. Let them.
Yeah, Jack. It's interesting to say that. There's 2 things I'm going to say. First, I want to say, I was thinking it a lot when I was away, and I was looking at, some of the stuff in my portfolio, and some of the ones that I've been introduced to through yourself or through Wall Street Reporter, and you can find some great stuff on here. For sure, you need to take it and then do your due diligence and take it to the next level. If you're going to actually consider making the investment. But PKK is one you mentioned on here. I'm not sure what price you introduced it at. I wish I knew.
35 cents, so 70 cents with the split taken into account.
So 70 cents, it's $8-9, trading range now, and it doesn't seem any signs of slowing down. I think fintech is incredible. There's a lot of people who would never heard of PKK if it wasn't here. I invested heavily in another fintech deal. I love the category. It's but it's great to see it on your show. And there's a few other ones. Early on, a lot of people found out about Skylight. One of my largest holdings by far. And
you got into Skylight a couple of years ago at 17 cents or something.
Yeah, no, less than that actually. And I was in it 2 years before it went public. Actually, I think about 2 years. And
you bought it, was it in the summer when you got into it during the late?
Yeah, exactly. When Brad was the CEO, was in a situation where he was needing to raise capital. It was quiet time. And being cash is king. And if you're sitting on capital when some of these CEOs need money, the deals get pretty attractive and buying opportunity. So Skylight was one of them. I believe it's going to be in 18, 24 months. I think it'll be one of the best stocks you've ever had on your show. Best companies that's been built. Then you look at another one that's more recent for me. I'd heard about it. There's All Street's Wolf, a handle that's out there on Twitter. He's excellent. Straight shooter. I heard him keep talking about this one, talking about it, and then all of a sudden, it was on your show, and I was like, I remember I reached out to you and said, this one's really interesting. I said, Jack, can you introduce me to the CEO of Visibility? I said VSPY. I said, there's something there. I said, but man, it's really hard to understand. That story is excellent, but I got to make sure what I'm hearing is correct. And so I got to spend some time talking to the CEO and get to know him, and I become a significant shareholder in that company. I think it's been so de-risked now. It's on fire. It's at an inflection point, and it's gonna be a lot of fun to watch into the fall and into the winter. So then and I say the same thing about Tetra. Tetra is certainly a passion project for me. I never got into it thinking, oh, this is going to be an overnight flip. I don't day trade. It's not what I do. I invested in Guy. Invested in his entire platform. His plan, which was to provide initially, it was all about pain and providing pain relief and alternatives to opioids. That was something I was able to really get behind. And if you look at what's happened here recently, it's like, oh, the stock's moving, it's getting pumped. No, it's not. First of all, the stock's so undervalued compared to what they're sitting on today from IP and patents. I think it's incredible. But a company, it's one thing with Guy saying, and a guy, company from Ottawa, and a guy from, a Frenchman from Quebec says, hey, I have a better method of pain relief than current forms, which is predominantly oral. He goes, I believe, his entire platform and thesis was that through inhalation, he can provide safer, quicker pain relief to patients around the world. Everyone was like, yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? It's like crazy Frenchman. You know what I mean? They didn't give him any credit for what he was saying. All of a sudden, you get a company, and their chief, I think, lifestyle officer and their chief medical officer and their CEO coming out and quoted in the last week and making a major acquisition in the category, saying that inhalation is safer and it's quicker. So Philip Morris is looking at it and investing massive amounts of money based on inhalation. And I know lots of people for sure thought I was crazy early on, calling this one out, saying that I believe Tetra will, in time, realize they've been at it at a fraction of the time that a company like GW has. But I believed, based on everything I read from Raymond James and some other major analysts, that Tetra had a chance to provide a safer, quicker pain relief to patients around the world.
And Sean, I think we should emphasize that when it comes to the whole biopharma investment, it's everything here is really, it's about playing the odds, because look, there's a certain there's a certain percentage probability that this will get FDA approval, right? There's a certain, and as the company, as they climb that ladder of clinical success, the trial success, better and better data comes in. The stock, as you said, it gets like de-risked, and all of a sudden they hit those milestones, and then the stock gets repriced.
That's
so
right.
It could be $1.50, $2, $3. They don't even have to have revenues for years.
It's a very different type of company. You know what I mean? Like some companies are valued based on revenue purely. You know what I mean? Like really purely based on revenue, and it doesn't matter whether that's because they don't have as much proprietary stuff. Like let's say a Skylight or something like that. They take care of patients, but then you get into something like Tetra, where the value creation moments that they go through is as they de-risk the investment not for them, not just for us, but how they de-risk it for big pharma, an LP, an MSO to come in and either partner with them, acquire them, license something from them. Those moments, every time that Guy, moves it forward, gets trial results, gets a patent on something, he can, which gives them, 5 years, minimum of exclusivity, proprietary on it. Nobody can touch him on some of his stuff that he has. Those are value creating moments. So everyone, a lot of times retail, just looks at it and says, well, when's he going to bring in revenue? When's he going to be in revenue? And the funny part is several of the things that Guy has, like, yes, I do believe one of them, I do believe they'll get their first DIN number probably, I'm going to say Q4, Q1 at the latest, but that will put them into revenue, and that will show that they can take something to market. But the number one thing I think that actually does is tell pharma that Guy has the ability to take something from, start to finish. It's not about, because once he gets, trial results here on a phase 2, and he de-risks it, I think it's quite likely at that point that either you license them, you JV on them, or the company's sold. I actually don't believe, let's say something as big as Comms or as Quicksleeve, several of them, I don't think he'll ever get to market, because the moment he demonstrates he can get it to market, he becomes a threat. He's not a threat as a company until he demonstrates the ability to get a drug to market. Because, if you're a major big pharma, if the guy's not a threat, he's just a pimple on the elephant's butt, like, why would you cut him a check for $1 billion or $2 billion or $3 billion? You don't do it. You have to have a reasonable belief that that drug is going to come out, and it's going to either replace something you have, or take away some of your sales, or provide you a sales growth opportunity. Other than that, you never lend credibility to anything he's doing. If anything, I think along the way they try and discredit everything he's doing in the cannabinoid space, and hope he goes away. You know what I mean? Because they'd prefer not to write him a check, for sure. But do I think at some point in time,
the pharma business is ruthless. This is
absolutely. They hope that most of these small companies, Bio-Pharmas, die on a vine. They really do hope that. And I believe there's several.
What's the path? Sure. What is the path for this right now? Because I think what everybody really wants to know is, okay, what's the path for this to be a 10-bagger from here? Let's say to be a $3 stock. What needs to happen?
The two platforms he has, one is pain. So, he's going to come out here. The most recently, when he expanded his trial to go against, fentanyl, morphine, hydromorphine, like those are some of the most, deadly opioids out there in the world. So he comes back here shortly, and says, yes, first of all, he wouldn't have accelerated the trial, because no pharma accelerates a trial and increases the burn on cash unless you're really confident in what you're doing. You'd have to be an idiot to go and spend more if it doesn't work. You know what I mean? Like, that's a guaranteed you're getting fired. And so him accelerating it recently was huge. Those results come out. That's a phase 2 that demonstrates head to head that he beat them. It's game over. And remember, he's not trying to prove. He's trying to provide an alternative. First of all, he's not trying to prove that. It's so superior that what he's trying to do is demonstrate a faster route to pain relief. So if you look at the Philip Morris news, they came out and said, we believe it's safer and it's faster via inhalation than oral. So the whole platform, what he did, was just validated by Philip Morris. Like, that's why the stock's been moving, in my opinion. Recently it's going up. No kidding, it's going up. He's just showing people that, hey, I'm not actually crazy. I'm going after this, and if I'm right, somebody's going to have to pay me. You know what I mean? Because he has patents on several parts of it, on the composition of matter, some of the pieces that are out there. Some of these cannabis companies, imagine if you're an LP, and I think one of the best fits for them is Curaleaf. You know, if you're them, or if you're a Tilray, or you're one of these guys, they're dying to get global access. You know what I mean? Like, that's the number one thing. Like, all these big LPs can't access the United States. But if you have a DIN number, you have an FDA approval on a drug, all of a sudden they can dominate the United States. You know, I mean, these people can get a prescription for it. You know, I mean, they can write it off and get their health insurance to cover it. That's what it's after. It's global access on one approval. So pain category for him is massive. That's one platform. As he goes to phase 2, I believe as soon as he gets phase 2 results, I believe he monetizes the drug. I think he JVs or he sells it. I don't.
When do you think that'll be? When do you think that'll be?
First half of 2022.
So not about 9 months from now, roughly.
I think, you know, I mean, he's probably six months out. You know, I mean, they're probably having to, you know, like the trial should be done. I'm going to say Q1. Okay. And whether he releases preliminary along the way, halfway point, anything, I'm not sure yet. I knew that, you know, I mean, if I saw him personally, if I saw him accelerate it, I knew it was go time. You know what I mean? And then he did do that. He came to the market and said, I'm accelerating this trial. And the FDA's approved expanded research on it. You know what I mean? So they can go do the head-to-head against, first it was only against morphine. And then much more serious drugs, they approved it again as well for hydromorphine. And I believe it's and fentanyl. So those are two significant pieces. I think there's a lot of people around the world that are there. You know, I think, you know, you give them credit as well. Like recently they filed an application with the NFL just to be associated and have a chance with it. I actually think it has nothing to do with the potential $1 million grant they would get. I think them applying, you know, to provide, you know, to assist in a trial and with NFL players to for pain. Like, you know, there's one gentleman out there, Delvin Breaux, former NFL player with the New Orleans Saints. You know, he screams it every day. Like, these NFL players are like, they're living in real pain. Like, he's posted a ton of information on it. You don't think there's some of them that would love to live beyond their NFL years, not in dire pain and, you know, taking real heavy opioids? So that's, you know, that's what he's after, I think. But as these pieces are going to continue to add credibility, I want to, if I could personally do it, whoever the gentleman is from Philip Morris that sent out the press release and did the first M&A deal in the category for inhalation, I'd like to send him a thank you letter. And, you know, that for Guy, keep de-risking it, keep moving this forward, because that's the value creation events I'm after. I'm not looking for him day one to start creating revenue off of Quicksleeve. You know what I mean? That, you know, I'm looking for him to monetize it over the next 12 months.
Yeah. So basically, I think like as we get into that, you know, first quarter of next year, we could see the stock moving towards that $3 range. I mean, it's, you know, it's not going to happen all in one day. It's going to probably, you know, might go to 50 cents.
Yeah, that's just on the Bain platform.
Yeah.
The Antiviral platform. When I was on here before, that piece is, I mean, like, some people paid attention, some people didn't, but Guy posted it. He showed that it, you know, I mean, he came out and said, based on the work being done with George Mason and, you know, university and NIH, that it had antiviral properties. You know, so the only thing he's waiting for is an IND sign off, which allows him to go ahead and inject the patient. As soon as he injects a patient, he's, you know, I mean, it's going to demonstrate very quickly that, you know, something that 1 in 5 people die from every year is sepsis. You know, more people die from sepsis than COVID. So he's on the verge of being able to inject patients. Now, I believe that one will get the attention. The ARDS trial will get more attention to pharma, to be honest. And I think the LPs and MSOs are paying more attention to the pain category at the moment. But I think the pharma, the moment Guy injects somebody and he saves somebody's life from sepsis or from COVID, I think, you know, he'll have pharma partners lining up around the block.
So really, basically, look, what makes this compelling, I mean, just from kind of my standpoint, just as from a layman's perspective, is, okay, the market opportunities that they're addressing are in the, I mean, there's several it's a couple $100 billion, it's 200 something billion in potential market opportunities that they're addressing. and they have a decent shot of getting some traction, either getting an approval or getting to some hitting some milestones, which could make this a billion-dollar company at minimum. So from here, that's a 10x easily, right? Yeah. What I like about this is that this thing has had a lot of doubters over the years, and now we're kind of and everything, all these things, everything, history kind of may not repeat, but it rhymes, and it's like we're TBP right now is exactly where PKK was last year, where MD was in the last weeks of August. People didn't care. All of a sudden, things started kind of moving up a little bit, and then everybody comes back from vacation, September, October. By then, the stock has already doubled, and then everybody starts FOMOing, chasing, and then the things go parabolic.
That's right. But the thing is, Jack, he doesn't have just one drug, right? Like, I'd be much more nervous looking at a biotech company or anything in the biospace, and it's all or nothing. They only have one horse in the race. Guy has one that's in for final approval to start sales, which is great. He has a multi-billion-dollar drug in ARDS that's waiting to inject the first patient, but has already come out with one of the most reputable programs in the world, which George Mason, NIH, come out and say that it worked. Based on their initial tests. And then you go in the pain trial, like any one of those work. And I think people have to be crazy to think that there's not a real chance that he's going to demonstrate quicker and safer relief on pain. He's not trying to say it's the only one, or it's better, or then it's opioids got to go away. He's just trying to provide an alternative, a safer alternative, and assist in the pain, especially with patients with cancer. Which is where the initial trial is based. But as soon as he shows it on a cancer patient, you don't think it's the amount of cross indications it's going to be for is going to be incredible. So any one of those things, he's not a one-trick pony.
So there's a pipeline of drugs, but also that's the big thing is the
it's a pipeline.
Off-label. The
off-label sales, incredible.
Off-label use is going to be the big thing.
Yeah, off-label use is incredible. But for me, looking at this company, first of all, I knew I'd have to be patient. But I knew the risk versus reward could be potentially life-changing. If he gets any one of these single drugs approved, I think even the DIN number, I think the stock's going to move dramatically. If he gets ARDS moving forward, that's the one that one of my friends was the founder of TerraSend, was the first one that said to me, he said, if he gets that approved, that's a unicorn. He goes, in the pharma world, and he's from the pharma world, he said, that is a unicorn drug. And I was like, are you really? And he was the one that led one of the financing rounds. So for the average investor, don't get me wrong, something could go wrong in any one of these drugs, but I believe along the way, Guy has de-risked them dramatically. I think he's got pending, material de-risking moments coming up here in Q3, Q4, as well as into 2022. And as he does that, it's one of the stocks that unfortunately, it's not just trade based on revenue or based on metrics that, from the last quarter. It's going to trade based on approvals, or you wake up one morning and there's an M&A deal announced, or there's a licensing deal announced, and, the stock is up 100, 200, 300%, and you're going to be going, wow, maybe I should have, I would have had to buy it and be patient. But, in my portfolio, there's certainly a percentage of my portfolio that I'm willing to take the home run risk on. And if it involves helping people, which I believe Guy is genuinely trying to do, then yeah, the Tetra's. That's why I've been a strong supporter of Tetra for years now.
Sure. So speaking of the portfolio, I think what everybody wants to know is how big is this portfolio? We're talking about 1 billion, 10 billion. What is the size of the Sean Black portfolio? And I want to get into what is the investment philosophy like? What is the if we can drill down
two things. Jack say obviously I've been very lucky in business, and I've been able to redeploy capital from several of the transactions I've done, which has been meaningful for me and my family. But my philosophy changed a little bit for sure. Before I'd be a little more I want to say bullish, reckless. Early on, you go into a deal and you pile into it. Without really having all the info. It'd be based on just what a friend said or what somebody told me. And then I've had more time to spend on doing, my own due diligence. And, yes, I may hear a great, recommendation or a great name or a great, a CEO on your show that does a great, presentation. Well, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask for a call with them, and I'm going to start talking to them, and I'm going to start understanding it, or talk to some other shareholders. and see at what point of the journey they're on. You know what I mean? Are they still in the proof of concept stage? Are they at the inflection point stage? You know, what are they at? And I'm okay taking a flyer on an earlier deal because it's got real promise. But then as they de-risk, I'm much more likely now to continue to add to the deal as they've de-risked. You know what I mean? I understand I'm averaging up because sometimes, yes, it's the 100-bagger, it's the 10-bagger. But you know what? If you average, a really strong number in your portfolio and you've increased your size based on as they've de-risked, I believe that's a real learning curve that as you mature as an investor, you start to do. So every time, several of your tickers, as the revenue climbs, the profitability climbs, their bank account grows, I think it's okay to average up.
You know what's
crazy?
I
know people that have done it recently with your PKK play. I know lots of guys that have averaged up, as they've de-risked.
It's very difficult for most investors to buy into a stock at like a higher price. It's interesting because Ron Barron, the guy, money manager in the U.S. I think the guy, I don't know how he met. What's his fund? I mean, the guy's already he's on the Forbes 100, multi-billionaire. He got into Tesla. I think his initial investment in Tesla was like in the dollar range, like in the low dollar range. I think he sold it at like $50 or $100, and he said, "Wow, I'm like a genius." Everybody, because the thing was a 100-bagger, basically, right?
Yeah.
And then the crazy thing is this, right? And then I remember seeing this on CNBC. He was on and said, "Hey, I got back into it." And he got back into it, like I think at the 150, 200 range. And it takes a certain personality to get out of something at 100 and then get back in and take another shot, and he thinks it's going to be 2,000 plus 5, whatever it is.
Yeah, you know what, Jack? I went for a walk with one of my neighbors the other day, and he was telling me a story recently where he did a deal, and he took some money off the table as the stock started to move up. He was pretty happy. He took out a significant 7-figure sum, and he sold it to one of his friends and neighbors. And the guy kept piling more into it as the company was growing and the stock was growing. And he goes, yeah. So say it was, you take out $1 million in a transaction. He goes, like a year later, that was worth 10. You know what I mean? As an example, right? So the other neighbor, he has to buy the beer. You know what I mean? Because he kept adding into the name. He had the conviction in it, and he kept adding as it was growing and de-risking the investment. So, it doesn't always work for everybody. Some people are out of dry powder. They just can't. It's not for everybody. But I think it's okay. I think, as they've grown and, you see an opportunity, maybe there's been a pullback on the stock or something like that. That's something I've definitely learned patience in these names.
Sure. I want to get to some audience questions. We're kind of running out of time here, but I want to get to some audience questions. So here's the big elephant in the room on TBP. You know what that is, right?
Yeah.
Is TBP, would they do another financing? Because I think people they're like all paranoid. Oh my God! Every time they do a financing, this is the big thing.
I hope they do. I really do. I hope that between now and Christmas they do a financing. I'd like to participate.
Above $1 though, right?
You know what, Jack? It's a matter of how the money comes in, how the terms are, how they negotiate. What if it's a strategic that comes in? What if they're able to go out and attract a strategic based on some early results, or based on getting their first DIN number, THC DIN number ever issued in Canada? What if they get that and a strategic says, hey, I want to be JV with you, but I want to be able to have a piece of the pie. So I want to put in $5, $10, $20 million in the company. Are you interested? Yep, absolutely, right? So they secure the future of the company. That's what I would like them to do. So if they bring in capital on the way to help secure the future of the company, sign me up.
Question: do you think Tilray would put more money into Tetra? Or does that add anything? Is that of any?
No, the moment they become a threat, yes. Do I think there's they've been so focused on rec, and then Irwin has been the CEO has been really focused on pushing into the U.S. and rec. The moment they become a threat, and let's say they get THC sales going in the United States before Tilray being the largest shareholder at the moment of Tetra, and remember Tilray on average paid between $1 and I think $1.06 a share. And they think they own 20-some million shares as an example. Do I think that there's a chance? Of course there's a chance. Imagine if you can if Guy could go to Irwin and say, Irwin, I'm going to have access to the United States in the next 12 months. Do you want to be my partner and launch the sales for QuickSleep? What's Irwin going to say? Potential multi-billion-dollar drug for pain in the United States. Of course he's going to do it. He's going to pay attention. So there's always a chance.
Sean, what are your current thoughts on Skylight here?
I've read materially in the last one of the ones that Jack and me talked about, the slow summers. I've been buying almost every single day for the past 3 weeks. I've been buying Skylight stock.
Really? Okay.
In a material amount.
Material.
I think probably the largest buyer of Skylight over the past 30 days. Myself and one other gentleman I know. We've been adding every single day. Almost, maybe 4 to 5 days a week, but I've been buying it.
Basically the volume has really dropped off. Essentially, I think my understanding is that essentially they want to focus on kind of like more of an institutional, relationships with analysts and all that. So there's not a lot of retail buying in the stock. So you might be the only guy buying right here in Canada.
I'm one of the only ones. But Jack, I'm patient though. I'm okay waiting 12, 18, 24 months. And if Pride can take that to a $20, $30 stock, I'm good. I'm patient. I don't care. I'm okay being the first guy to the party. Because I get the best choice of food. I can.
The chart is looking good. I'm looking from the standpoint. I think this thing is right here is kind of, this is kind of the bottom right here.
I've been in the 4 to 450 range, Jack. I bought a material amount of stock in the past 3 weeks.
Okay. Wow. Okay. There we go. Other Bob also. Bob is piggybacking on your trading.
VSPY, I bought a massive amount of it. I participated in the recent PP, and I'll hold on to that with. I'm sitting with that under my cushion. Both Skylight and VSPY. The only one I missed of all years recently, Jack, was PKK. I missed that one. That's kind of annoying. I wish you would have told me about that one before. Sure,
we got the next one. I don't know if we got a live stream with Logic coming up, which is they're in the e-commerce.
Nobody gets them, Jack. Nobody understands them yet.
I don't think. But here's the thing. Here's the thing that which ties into they have a big operation in Indonesia with like a food delivery operation. It's like sort of like a Uber Eats. Yep. Fintech. They have again, I think it's one of these things people don't quite understand it. It's a little bit like peak fintech or VSPY. That's the opportunity. The opportunity is when nobody understands it.
That's right. And my largest fintech holding is PBX. But I'd love to have a call with that CEO you're going to have on next and let him tell me what it is. Like I said, I've been sitting on dry powder for summer. I've been deploying it significantly in a few names that you have. And like I said, Jack, you do a great job of helping these CEOs, giving them a platform to make their pitch. And you get knocked sometimes as being a promoter and whatever. But at the end of the day, you're giving somebody an opportunity. What they do with that opportunity, that's up to the CEO. If Guy wants this thing and he wants to go get it and he wants it to be a $20 stock, remember, Guy has millions of share options available to him between $1 and $2. So I know every day Guy goes to sleep and I swear he has a tattoo somewhere on his body that says $2. Because until he gets there at minimum, he doesn't get fully vested on all his options. So he is heavily motivated. Yes, he gets a good salary, but if you have 15 million stock options at $2, you're going to chase it pretty hard. You know what I mean? So Guy, everybody wonders what's Guy after. He wants a real payday. He's going to take care of his family. I've seen the picture of the beach he wants to be on someday, and I hope I get to be there with him and have a beer and enjoy it because it's been a long journey. It's going to be a lot longer, but the payday, like you can't expect a 10, 20, 50, 100x to come overnight. And the guys that got into Shopify had to wait, and I don't mind waiting.
No, what's that? There's a great little graphic we showed before, which is like everybody thinks, oh, the path to to the moon, is a straight shot, a little smooth ride. In reality, it's like up and down roll. It is.
Look at peak fintech. I watch a couple guys that are out there that talk about it all the time, and like you said, that was 30 cents. So 70 cents on the reverse, But now it's it's an $8 stock. You're going to turn over your float sometimes too, Jack. Like the same person that owned that thing at 30 cents. Was excited about it. That might have hit $1. They might have grabbed the holy crap bar, and been like, I don't want to own a dollar stock. I've never had one of those in my portfolio before. So you're going to turn your float over sometimes to a different investor. You're going to pass the baton, right? And there's next guys that are going to buy it on the next leg up.
Yeah, because here's the thing.
It's been de-risked, so they'll buy it then.
Yeah, there's a lot of like biotech pharma investors. They don't want to buy a stock under $1. So like to them, it's like, oh, it's a penny
Some
stock.
can't. Some can't. They can't access it on a
Right.
certain exchange. They're not even allowed to hold them. Certain institutions, if it's like $1.50, $3, and some of them there's a
$5,
$5.
$5.
And you got to remember, a lot of people can't buy it on margin on those numbers either, so they won't touch it because it's not marginable and it affects their overall what they can access in their account. So a lot of guys won't touch those stocks. So now all of a sudden, that's why PKK I think is moving more now. They're de-risked and larger money can access the stock because it's over $5.
Sean, so what is it? What was there was some drama 3 months ago with the financing. What's changed?
No, I wasn't. I didn't like the terms. I mean, I didn't like the terms. I didn't like the way they backed into it with the bank that was in play. So how they handled the financing doesn't change my opinion. I mean, Guy knows I was mad at him. I gave him an earful. About how they handled it. And
I think everybody who's watching it was mad at him for doing the deal because the stock was ready to go to $1, or 75 cents. It was ready to go.
Yeah, they left at least 30 to 50% on the table from another leg up before they did a financing. But when they pulled the ripcord a little quick, in my opinion, and so was I bitter? Do I still give him a hard time about it?
As some people say, yes.
I do give him a hard time about it, and I always will. Always remind him of it. But at the end of the day, did it change though what he's doing?
Listen, when the stock is $18, I don't think anybody's gonna care what happens.
Some guys won't be around anymore because, like I said, they're going to turn over the float. Some guys will be long gone. I'll still be one of those guys holding, and I'll still remind them when it's time when we celebrate. Hey, I left money. You cost me money back then, so you're buying the beer. But do I think it's at the end of the day? Hopefully, he learned from it when he does his next one. That's all I can ask is give him a hard time, educate him how he impacted everybody, and give him a chance to do better on the next one.
Okay, so but the bottom line is, I think for the next financing one, it's going to be a much better terms. I mean, this is like
I do believe it is, and it was better last time than it could have than the previous time when listed warrants and all those things. So he did listen, he did learn some, but there's always room for improvement.
Yeah, but in other words, I think the big fear that I think some people have, what it is? I think there's like old timers in the stock. People have been in the stock for a long time, and
they have
that fear of financings.
They have a nervous twitch. When they spend the money, what do they do with it? Do they return value on it? And also, you remember that I think a couple of those financings and stuff like that, and the heat that they took, that led to some changes on the board. There were material changes on the board, and they upgraded, some of the individuals that are much more vested. They're much more. They want to be around for the future. They're not part of the history. They're part of the future. So those things changed. Someone asked me what changed. Lots of things changed, actually. Even the CFO nice guy, but not somebody that hires to work for me. He left as well. So there's been some really good changes at the company. I'm really happy about that.
Sean, okay, okay, so we're actually out of time. I'm going to ask you one last question here. This is so basically, and I think we should do we've got to do an interview later where we have more time because these things can go for like 5 hours. This could be one of these. We'll have to get some of the Unibrew beers. What's the beer that they make? The Montreal. What's the one they make? Fin du Monde, right?
All right.
We'll have some Fin. Okay, so basically, so you've had a very, massive success in the restaurant industry in Canada, right? Mm-hmm. And there is rumors that you got after you sold that deal, you're piling money into the next deal. Can you talk about
it? Yes, there's one that's out there that my partners from the restaurant space joined a board. Someone I know and respect very much that used to run one of the bigger pet food brands up here, owned by Mars, the Mars family. They've an incredible team at VEGN. Plant & Co. I think those guys are, working on a business plan, working on strategic, both inorganic and organic deals and revenue that they'll deliver. But Jack, it's like when you're building a real business, just like in our restaurant business, it took us 20 years. We built a real company that was a lot of money. So it wasn't an overnight success by any means. And when you build a real one that's with bricks and mortar, and it's got a foundation that that'll create generations of future revenue and jobs. you don't do that overnight. So Plant & Co. is not an overnight. I tell people it's not a penny flip. It's not a pump and dump. If I hear anybody say it, I literally call them out and reach to them directly and be like, don't do that. You know what I mean? They're building a real business there. Give them time. And you got some of the best minds in the business. And remember, one thing that's key about the guys that all joined that company, they took no salary, none. They only get paid when the stock goes up. So you want to talk about alignment with shareholders? The Plant & Co. is unbelievable. You know what I mean? Like it's the best alignment you could ask for. Do I think they'll get there? Heck yeah. I put my money into the deal. They call me, they need anything. You know what I mean? They can, not only can they drive by my house and knock on my door, but they can call me on the phone and I'll help them any way I can. But do I think they're going to be successful? Yes, I do. But you got to be patient. They're building a real business.
Okay. Question is TBP your biggest position?
TBP and Skylight are right neck and neck. I would say VSPY and PBX are next in my list, are right up there.
Okay, and can you say how many shares of TBP you own now? Is that a secret? Is it north of 1,000 shares?
Way more north than of 1 million. There's a lot of shares, Jack. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I think I'd be one of the larger shareholders in the company for sure, next to Tilray.
Okay, excellent. So, Sean, on that note, I want to thank you. We're gonna move to our next interview, which is gonna be Logic. This is LGIQ, which is now trading in Canada. So everybody in Canada, which by the way, I think this is one of the catalysts for that stock, is that in Canada, people are into these, lower price stocks. In the US, OTC, it's like dead. It's
That's right. Yeah.
So
all right. I wish you luck with it, Jack. And anytime you want to talk about Tetra or any of these ones coming up, I know Guy told everyone to keep their, the phones by them in the summer, and I believe he's working on it.
And the summer's not over. The summer's not
over. You know what I mean? I don't know when it, you know what I mean? But Q3, Q4, I think are going to be a lot of fun. I think we're going to make some money. I think he's gonna de-risk the investment further, and make the people that stick around. He's gonna make some people happy.
Okay, fantastic, Sean. Thank you again. Always a pleasure. You got a big fan base here. We gotta get you a Wall Street Reporter hat. We're gonna get you a black hat with the Wall Street Reporter logo.
Like I said, I'm sure Remy will get one pretty quickly.
Fantastic, Sean. Again, thank you very much.